Hey friends, welcome back to Mustard Seed Homesteading and welcome to my kitchen. Normally what I do is I give weekly garden tours of my garden every week, no matter what the weather or the season is. But what I thought I'd do today is finally get around to preserving half of the plum tomatoes that I harvested throughout the summer and the fall to make a homemade salsa, and I want to make it with you all. So let's get started. I do want to quickly add before we start cooking the salsa that this is not my recipe. It's actually my mother-in-law that showed me how to make this recipe. And because my husband and I love it so much, I now make large batches from the garden so it lasts us for a whole year. So let me show you the ingredients. Now, the first thing you need are your tomatoes. Now, I have about 5-gallon-sized Ziploc bags of frozen Martina Roma and San Marzano plum tomatoes. Now, when she showed me this recipe, she said to use plum tomatoes. Maybe you can try to mix it up and try a different tomato. I think experimenting in the kitchen is always fun, but for this recipe, we're gonna use plum tomatoes. We're gonna use about 2.5 of these bags so that I can save the other 2.5 to attempt to maybe make some homemade pizza sauce. Then the next thing that you need is some garlic. This is my leftover garlic from the garlic harvest. I can leave that video in the description below, but I harvested a good amount of garlic from, I want to say it was 2 green stalks and 1 rolling bed. It was quite a bit. It's lasted for quite a while. So, and they're still good. So we need garlic cloves, and then we're gonna need a few slices of onion. I think I have just a little bit of onion left from my onion harvest. This is actually from Azure Standard. So you're gonna need a few pieces of this, and then you're gonna need some jalapenos, and these are from my garden. Now, I do have some yellow, green, and red. To me, it doesn't matter what jalapeno peppers that I use in this recipe, but we're gonna be using some jalapeno peppers, and then we're also gonna need salt, and that's it. So tomatoes, garlic, onion, jalapeno, and salt, and then a little bit of the water from the tomatoes when we boil them. So let me show you the next step. I do want to quickly add also that these tomatoes and jalapenos, I already cleaned them before I stuck them into the freezer. So if you see me dump them, and if you're wondering, I did already go ahead and clean them. So let's go ahead and start boiling them. Okay, so all you're gonna do is get a pot. Now this is an 8-quart pot. It just depends on how much you're making, and you're just gonna dump the tomatoes in there. I wanna make a side note here. You may see that I did not cut the tops off of the tomatoes from where the vine attached itself to the tomato. I just leave that on there. Okay, so it looks like I didn't have enough room in this 8-quart pot, so I had to get this pot, and then I ended up just dumping all 3-gallon Ziploc gallon bags in here to make the salsa, and I'll leave the 2 gallons for the pizza sauce just because it's new, whereas this, I've made it quite a bit, and I know that this will work. So that way, if the pizza sauce is a total fail, it was not that I want to waste, but it was only 2 gallons as opposed to 2.5. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw some jalapeno peppers in here, and all we're gonna do then is boil it until it's all soft for me to then blend. What I did was I ended up just putting all of my jalapenos in here. What I normally do is I'll have a jalapeno pepper to every 5 tomatoes. But I feel like just cooking all of them would probably be enough. And if it's too much, I can always either freeze dry it or make some sort of a jalapeno paste and use it elsewhere. So now we're going to fill this up with water, and we're going to let them boil. So now that we have the water in the pot, you can see that I did not fill them up all the way because I don't want it to bubble over. What we want to do is get these cooked down a bit so it's soft enough to blend into a salsa. And to make sure that the tops also get cooked a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place this on top, not close it all the way so it can vent a little bit, so it can keep the heat in here and cook a little bit of these top pieces. And we're gonna put this one on here as well. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this cook, and then I'll come back and we will go ahead and blend and make our salsa. All right, so we've had these boiling for about 15 to 20 minutes, and all you want to see is it cook down like this, enough where you can either stick a knife or a fork in here, as well as the jalapenos. Sorry, the other pot is in the way, but you want to be able to just stick your fork or knife in there and have it completely be tender. I'm going to give this just a few more minutes for the top, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to process this and make our salsa. And don't mind this over here. I am cooking dinner at the very moment. We're having chicken fajitas from the poblano peppers that I harvested in the garden over the summer. And here's what that looks like. Oof, steamy but delicious. So all I'm gonna do now is scoop out the tomatoes. We don't need to take the skins off, which makes this recipe super easy for me. And we're going to scoop all of those out and stick them into our blender. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Make sure as you're scooping out your tomatoes that you only put the tomatoes in the blender and save the jalapeno peppers for last, because I'm going to show you what to do with them. Okay, so you can see I filled everything up and there's quite a bit of water in here. Now I'm gonna dump out a good amount of the water because you can see this leftover water I can always use to add to either make it not as thick, but you can, so for instance, you can always add water, but you can never take water away. So I'm gonna dump a little bit of this water out. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the jalapenos. Now I'm gonna show you real quick how I do that, and then we'll get to the onions and the garlic. I'm gonna go ahead now and scoop out all the jalapeno peppers and put them onto my cutting board. Now what I'm gonna do, these are gonna be hot. Oh, I'm losing one. I'm gonna use a fork and a knife. I'm gonna cut these open and I'm gonna take some of the seeds out. Now this is personal preference. You can either add as much of the seeds. The seeds is what makes it really hot. So you can add as much or as little as you want to give you whatever level of heat you want for your salsa. Now I'm also taking off the stems too, because I don't want to put that in there. But I think because these are such small jalapenos, I don't know if I'm gonna take out all the seeds. I'm not really sure. I know last year I accidentally made it a little too hot, but he still ate it and we still ate it. Now be very careful working with jalapenos. I would not touch them with your hands because it burns your hands later on and it is no fun at all. I'm gonna try my hardest not to touch these. So I'm just gonna try to use the fork and the knife and my little strainer to transport them into the blender. Now you probably could keep these stems and do something with them. Maybe put them in the freezer and use them for a stew or a recipe or something. I just throw mine away, but you can always find ways to repurpose things. But I think for the most part, I don't know, maybe I'll take a little, and that's the other thing with the seeds, you can always take them out. And if you find that your salsa is not hot enough, keep the seeds on your cutting board and then just add them into your salsa. I've done that before too. Because sometimes you really don't know. So I'm gonna take a few off and kind of go from there. Ooh, my eyes are like, the peppers are, my eyes can feel it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put these jalapeno peppers in here. For the onions, I went ahead and I cut it in quarters. And what you're gonna do is just take a few pieces and put it in here to blend. Now, because we have a good amount of tomatoes and jalapenos, I think I'm gonna probably throw 4 of these in here. I can always add more if I want to. And when my mother-in-law showed me, if I can remember, because I didn't really write this down, or I might have, and I just can't find it, because, you know, I learned to just make it my own, but it's still her recipe, but I might tweak and add a little bit more onion or garlic. I want to say she added a piece of onion like this to anywhere from 5 to 10 aromas. Maybe she added a little bit more sometimes, but I just kind of guesstimate. Now, I will put a recipe, I'll link out, like I'll put something down in the description below if you want to make this, but you can always tweak it and add more onion or garlic and make it your own salsa. And then now for the garlic, same thing with this. I want to say she put a clove or 2 with a few of her Roma tomatoes, like anywhere from 5 to 10. But I'm going to go ahead and probably grab 4 kind of mediocre, small size garlic cloves. Again, I could always add, you can never take away. The last thing we're gonna add is our salt. Now, she does put a tablespoon of salt in there. I'm gonna go by teaspoons just so that it's not too salty for me. So I'm gonna actually add probably 2 teaspoons, which probably equals a tablespoon, but I'm just gonna add 2 teaspoons. And again, I can always add, but never take away. And now we're just gonna blend this. Okay, so this is what the salsa looks like. Now, you can see it's not chunky, but it's not super runny. This is actually the texture that we like, so I'm not gonna add any more water, and I'm really glad that I dumped out some of the water, because you gotta remember the tomatoes hold water and so does the jalapenos. So this is a perfect texture. Now comes the taste test. All right, you guys, I'm gonna take one of these new tortillas. I just got this actually at the store. I love this brand, Siete. It's a great brand, and they just, or at least I saw it at the stores the first time I saw them, is this new blue corn, and there's also just a regular sea salt corn, as well as a lime flavored corn tortilla chips. And this is why I love them so much. You can see the ingredients are super clean. It's a great brand of food that I like to get. I get seasoning, chips, some other stuff from them, but it's a really good brand. So I'm gonna use one of these chips and we're gonna taste test, but I gotta get the hubby up here for him to try it first, or after me, I should say, and see what he thinks. So I'm gonna test this. Now it is really hot. It tastes better when it's cold in the fridge, but oh my gosh, you guys, this is so good. And it's simple ingredients too. So now I'm gonna get the husband so he can try it. I will say before I get the hubby, the best way to always test your salsa is probably spoon first, but I had to with the chips. The chips were so good. But just the salsa, just like this, is so good. So, all right, let me get the husband now. Okay, real quick, I'm still waiting on the hubby. I just saw this tomato. Look, it's the only one I've seen that hasn't popped open, which I think is so funny, but look at it. It's like jiggly. So I wanted to show you guys, look at that. Oh my gosh, look how it just rips apart like that. That's so cool. I love cooking tomatoes. They're so much fun. They're so easy to cook. Anyways, I just wanted to be a little goofy and show you. Okay, well, while I'm waiting for Obi, let's go ahead and start our second batch, because I think the first batch tastes really good anyways. So let's go ahead and get our second one. Here we go. We're just gonna start adding it in there. I think what I'm going to do this summer when I plan my garden is plant a lot more plum tomatoes and maybe even get into different varieties because my goal is to make not only a year's worth of salsa, but also a year worth of pizza sauce and spaghetti sauce because we use all three of those in our house a lot. And I think with the 444 cloves of garlic I planted this fall, I'll have enough garlic and I will plan to plant a ton of onions so that I can make these recipes and have enough to preserve extra for the year. Okay, honey, I need you to try this. Say hi to Obed, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Go ahead and try it. Is it good?
Wow, it's got a nice kick to it.
Okay, no more salt or anything?
Maybe just a tad bit
more salt.
But the spice, everything is great.
Nice. Yay. Okay, so he added a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now try it. Better?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah?
Good job. Yeah.
Okay. All right, try it with a chip now.
All right.
Yep, gotta try it with a chip. This one is the Siete Lime. Good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So good. Okay, on to second batch. So here's the jalapenos from the second batch. Now there was a lot more, so I'm gonna do something different with these and we're gonna cut these off and put it in this batch. I think some of the most amazing recipes are the most simplest recipes with the most simplest ingredients, and this by far is one of my favorite recipes, and salsa is also so versatile. And definitely let me know in the comments below if you do end up trying this recipe and how you liked it. Or if you tweaked it, please share what you added or changed and if you liked it. Okay, second batch is completely done. What I'm gonna do is now let them cool off. We're gonna put them in these Ziploc bags and then I will show you the final product when we're done. All right, friends, well, it finally cooled down and now I'm gonna go ahead and put them in my Ziploc bag. So there's different ways you can freeze salsa. You could use containers like this with just a real simple cap. I actually saved these from the restaurant, but I know you can purchase a bunch of these from Amazon as well. But what I like to do is put them in Ziploc bags. I'll just label it salsa, I'll put the month, and even though these were grown in 2024, I like to put 2025 because that's just when I process them. And the reason I like to do Ziploc bags is because of the fact that I can lay them flat, which I'll show you at the very end. But I'm gonna go ahead and put, I think about 2 cups in each bag. Something I do wanna share that I have observed since preserving my homegrown tomatoes into salsa is the rich red color of the salsa. When I used to buy store-bought tomatoes, the color was not as vibrant and the flavor was good, but the flavor of my homegrown tomatoes is so much more delicious and flavorful to me that now it motivates me every year to plant and grow my own tomatoes. I truly understand now the joy that comes from growing my own food from seed to a plant and then harvesting it to then preserve it in my kitchen, to then enjoy watching my family eat nutritious food that they love. It is by far one of the most satisfying things for me as a wife and a mother. Here's our final batch of salsa. I was able to make 13 cups of salsa. All of these bags have 1 cup. I decided to do 1 cup of salsa per bag. The first one I did do 2, and then I figured 1 would probably be best. And the way I stacked them, you can see I did every other just so that it would be more even. And then I put it in a sheet pan that I just use for baking in the oven. And what I'm gonna do is put this in the freezer so that they freeze flat like this. These ones I just kind of left over here folded. It's just one in these open spots right here. But what I'm gonna do is freeze them so that I could basically freeze them in files in my freezer. So we're gonna put that in the freezer, and that's how easy it is to make salsa at home. Well, friends, thanks so much for coming along with me in the kitchen and making homemade salsa. It really is super simple. And like I said, I'm gonna leave the recipe in the description below, but it really is something that you can tweak to your liking. Like I said, you could add more garlic, you can add more onion or anything that you want. It's kind of really just a baseline of making salsa. And there's a lot of different recipes out there, but this one has been by far our favorite, and I wanted to share it with you all. I appreciate you all stopping by, and I really look forward to seeing you all next time. And always remember, friends, be encouraged, stay encouraged, and always stay inspired. And I'll see y'all later. Bye.